What's good, YouTube? It's your boy, Blue Blood Sports TV, back at y'all with another one. So, reports have surfaced that undefeated, unified WBC, IBF, welterweight world champion, superstar boxer, Errol Spence Jr., who is widely considered by many to be top 3 pound-for-pound fighters in the world, and his stablemate and training partner, two-time junior middleweight world champion, unified WBC, IBF, WBA, Ring Magazine, world champion, superstar boxer, Jermell Lions Only Charlo, will be facing off on the same card. Jermell Charlo against WBO junior middleweight world champion Brian Castano, and Errol Spence Jr. against WBA welterweight world champion Cuban star boxer Yordenis Ugas. This is the plans is they're trying to secure a doubleheader. Now we saw Jermell Charlo. He did so with his twin brother, identical twin brother, who is 2-division world champion, undefeated WBC reigning middleweight world champion, superstar boxer Jermell Charlo. They did a doubleheader September 26th of 2020. Okay, they did. You had Jermell Charlo and Jermell Charlo on the same card in huge fights. Now, Jermell Charlo, he faced off against Sergey Derevyanchenko, and he headlined the first set of fights, okay? Then they had an intermission, and then they went into the second set of fights, and Jermell Charlo, he's faced off in a unification bout against Jason Rosario, which he got the stoppage victory. Now they're looking to duplicate the same thing with Errol Spence and Jermell Charlo. Errol Spence will be going into a unification bout against Yordenis Ugas, and Jermell Charlo will be going into an undisputed match against Brian Castano. Now, who's going to be the first set of cards and who's going to be the second set of cards is left to be desired. With that said, they're looking to stage these fights in Texas, in Arlington, Texas, at AT&T Stadium, Dallas Cowboys Stadium, Jerry's World. Okay, we know that there's only 2 states right now currently in the United States that have pretty much open and somewhat back to normal, and that's Texas and it's Florida. Okay, so with that said, they're looking to do this July 3rd, the weekend of the 4th of July. As I reported, that Errol Spence and Yordenis Ugas will be headed to July 3rd. 4th of July lands on a Sunday this year. So it lands on the weekend. People are going to be looking to have events and go to, have barbecues and things of that nature and have get-togethers, right? So what better way than to have a fight of this magnitude on the 3rd of July going into the 4th of July? Huge fight. So I, initially reported that it would be Errol Spence and Yordenis Ugas. Now they're looking to add Jermell Charlo and Brian Castano to that card. Initially, that was being talked about to take place in June. Now it looks like they could be headlining the same card. There's also reports that Errol Spence could be headlining a July 3rd card, and that Jermell Charlo could be headlining a July 10th card, the weekend following, okay? Now, I found that to be a little difficult to do because both events are definitely going to be pay-per-view. So you can't have a pay-per-view event on the 3rd of July and a pay-per-view event a week later on the 10th, okay? Thus the reason why they're trying to pack it into one night and, have one big extravaganza and one big pay-per-view card, okay? I, for one, am not, I don't like this, okay? I'd much rather have them on separate cards, because I feel like it waters down the event, the fight itself, okay? Now, it's definitely going to be an action-packed night of boxing, but I believe that it's just difficult, okay? It made the Jermell Charlo card, it was extremely long. Jermell Charlo, they didn't fight till after 12 o'clock at night. It just was dragged out. I'd much rather see them break it up, okay? And you look forward to, have some good fights on the undercard, but not a fight of the magnitude of Errol Spence and Yordenis Ugas or Jermell Charlo and Brian Castano, okay? Now, we know Jermell Charlo, he headlined, the primetime card with Jermell Charlo. He was the last fight of the night. Now, maybe this night, he's the first one. He closes the first show out, headlining, and then Errol Spence, is the last fight of the night. But at the same token, it's for undisputed at 154. That's a huge event. That's a huge fight. Okay, the importance of that is the magnitude and the importance of that is huge. But also on the same token, the magnitude and the importance of Errol Spence capturing that third belt, being able to negotiate a super fight with undefeated 3-division world champion, who is currently the WBO welterweight world champion, is widely considered by many to be the number one pound-for-pound fighter in the world, in Terrence Bud Crawford. Okay, now Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence, they have been going back and forth. Errol Spence said 60-40. Terrence Crawford said it needs to be 50-50 or no fight. He recently stated that he's no longer looking towards Errol Spence fight. He's done with that fight. The fight is in the rear view mirror for him. Obviously, this is the super fight. This is the biggest fight in boxing. This is the fight that the fans want to see. So Errol Spence, he's looking to become undisputed. Terrence Crawford was already undisputed at junior welterweight. So it's a lot of implications, okay? It's very important for him to get this belt from Yordenis Ugas. I, myself, personally, would much rather see Jermell Charlo face off against Brian Castano maybe 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later. The problem is that Jermell Charlo, he's been out the ring longer than Errol Spence, okay? So the longer he waits, the more time is passing by since the last time he was in the ring, September 26th of 2020, okay? Now, Errol Spence, he fought December 5th. So he fought 3 months after Jermell Charlo. So he's fought, much sooner than Jermell Charlo. He's been more active, okay? So maybe Jermell Charlo fights July 3rd against Brian Castano, and then Errol Spence, he fights Yordenis Ugas later on in the year, okay? Maybe he fights Yordenis Ugas, the 17th of July, okay? That would make, a lot of sense. Or maybe he even fights him at the end of July. Maybe he fights him the 24th. Give fans enough time to recoup from the pay-per-view with Jermell Charlo on the 3rd, and he fights on the 24th, 3 weeks later, okay? To pack it in on the same card, I believe it waters it down. I believe it takes away from some of his luster. As a hardcore boxing fan and as a member of the media, I don't mind it personally, but I just think it's a lot on the fans. You asking the fans, in attendance to sit through a card that's going to have at least 3 undercards for Errol Spence's fight, if he's the first fight, or Jermell Charlo. You're going to have at least 3 undercards or more. And then the same goes for the second set of fights. So it just makes, by the time the fans get to the last fight, they're exhausted, okay? They ran out of juice, So you want the excitement to be fresh. You want the fans to be engaged. By the time the last fight comes around, now see, that worked for Jermell and Jamal, that September 26th fight, because there was no fans in attendance, okay? So the fans, everybody was at home, but now you're asking fans in attendance to sit through that many cards and fights that are very important, like Jermell Charlo versus Castano and Errol Spence versus Yordenis Ugas. I think that's a little taxing on the fans. I think that you lose their attention. They start to lose focus. They get restless. I just think that it's just better to break it up. Have them headline their own card. Have a co-main event that's respectable. Have stack the card, the undercards on both fights, and leave something to be desired for 2 weeks later. Okay, break it up and leave something to be desired. I'm sure we're talking about in July. So Dallas Cowboys football, they're not going to start training camp until maybe the end of July, and they're not going to train at Arlington at Cowboy Stadium, right? So they're not going to interfere that Saturday night. Okay, so I'd much rather see this broken up, but it's exciting to get an announcement that we have these fights to look forward to overall. I highly expect both to be successful. I expect Jermell Charlo to defeat and possibly stop Brian Castano, and I think that Errol Spence is going to dominate Yordenis Ugas in the same fashion he did Danny Swift Garcia in his last fight. I think it's going to look eerie similar to his last fight with Danny Garcia. He showed off his physique. He's already in shape. He's already ready to go, and he hasn't even entered training camp. So that speaks volumes. So I would much rather see it broken up. but the reports are that we could get it the 3rd or the 10th. So let's see how this unfolds. Make sure you hit the like button. Drop a comment in the comment section. Let me know what y'all think. Y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. You haven't subscribed? Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all in word. Y'all already know what it is. Shout out to the entire LDBC. Shout out to New Media. Shout out to Black Media Raw. Make sure you like and share these videos. That's all I got for y'all. Peace.
Oh, it is your boy Jada Kiss. Make sure you check out Blue Blood Sports TV. It's going down.